Hi, everybody. Welcome back for another First Chapter Friday. Today, the story is The Ogress and the Orphans. I'm going to read the first two chapters. It's by Kelly Barnhill. Okay, Chapter 1. Pay attention. Listen, this is a story about an ogress. She is not who you might think she is, but really, is anyone? The ogress lived in a crooked house at the far edge of town. She enjoyed baking and gardening and counting the stars. Like all ogres, the ogress was quite tall. Even sizable adults would have to crane their necks and squint a bit to say hello. She had feet the size of tortoises, hands the size of herons' wings, and a broad, broad brow that cracked and creased when she concentrated. Her skin was like granite, and her eyes looked like brand new pennies. Her hair sprouted and waved from her head like prairie grass, stiff and yellow and green, sometimes spangled with daisies or dandelions or creeping ivy. Like all ogres, she spoke little and thought much. She was careful and considerate. Her heavy feet trod lightly on the ground. This is also a story about a family of orphans. There were 15 orphans living in the orphan house at the time our story begins, several years after the ogress first arrived in town. And there were too many children for one house, but they made do. Their names were Anthea, Bartleby, Cassandra, who preferred Cass, Deirdre, Elijah, Fortunate, Gratitude, Hiram, Iggy, Justina, Kai, Lily, Maud, and the babies, Ninette and Orpheus. They were good children, these orphans, studious and hardworking and kind, and they loved one another dearly, ever so much more than they loved themselves. The ogress, too, was hardworking and kind and generous. She also loved others more than she loved herself. This can be a problem, of course, sometimes, but it can also be a solution. Let me show you how. Chapter 2. The Dragon. This is also a story about a dragon. I do not like to talk about him much. I don't even like to think about him. I should clarify. It's not my intention to speak ill of dragons generally. It is a terrible practice to prejudge anyone, be they ogres or orphans or dragons or nosy neighbors or assistant principals or people with unusual manners. It is important, always, to treat everyone with compassion and respect. This is well known. As for dragons in particular, they are as diverse in their dispositions as any other creature. I myself have encountered dragons of every personality type. Shy, gregarious, lazy, fastidious, self-centered, big-hearted, enthusiastic, and brave. But this dragon, I'm sorry to say, was none of those things. This dragon was greedy, perfidious, and indifferent. He felt no remorse, and he had not been redeemed. He delighted in discord and sowed acrimony wherever he went. These are all large words, and I apologize for them, but my feelings about this dragon are large. Listen. I would like nothing more than to tell you that every person, human, dragon, or any other kind of creature, is fundamentally good. But I can't tell you that, because it's not in my nature to lie. Everyone starts fundamentally good, in my experience, and nearly everyone stays mostly good for the most part. But some, well, they choose to do bad things. No one knows why. And then a small number of those choose to stay bad. I wish it weren't true. But it's best you know this now, at the beginning of this book. Every story has a villain, after all. And every villain has a story. Okay, so first two chapters of The Ogress and the Orphans. If you enjoyed that and want to read more, feel free to check it out from our library. If it happens to be checked out, we do have a list linked below of other similar titles you might enjoy. Okay, that's all today, and come back next Friday for another first chapter.